Thank you for listening to this podcast from TRE, Talk Radio Europe, your voice in Spain and around the world. For more information, please visit TRE.radio.
TRE in the afternoon. Presented by Hannah Murray.
Good afternoon. You are listening to Men Talk. It's just gone 5:05. With me in the studio today, we have Luke Watkins, Russell Hood and Jamie Stonehewer. Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Thank you all for coming in. If you are listening at home and you would like to get involved, if you have any comments with regards to what we're talking about, you can. Here's how.
To contact TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95.
What a beautiful day, so wonderful life.
Okay, it is Valentine's Day next week. So I thought there's an article here talking about how it's quite an expensive thing to do. And I thought it was just a kind of interesting general subject. We spoke to the women last week about it, whether it's the kind of thing that you have celebrated over the years, whether it's something you used to celebrate when you were younger and not so much now, whether you think the whole thing is a commercial waste of time, whether you've just been a card person but not presents, a flower giver, all that kind of stuff. How do we feel about Valentine's Day? It makes you laugh. Brilliant. Love that, Russell.
I've always just not noticed it.
Oh, really? Just flies, but like a normal day.
Absolutely.
Fair enough.
Funny one. Valentine's Day it's like it always seems to be like Halloween. It used to be very little and now it's very big.
Yeah.
So I have offered to do all sorts this year, and my loving wife, 30 years married this year.
Congratulations. Amazing.
It's like she'd like to stay in and have mussels, so we're just going to stay in and have the mussels.
Oh, love that.
I'm very happy about which.
Nice.
Which probably means I'll get more flowers and a bigger card.
It's save on the expensive dinner.
I fancied a nice time away, but no, I'm not allowed. So.
Oh. She's happy with mussels. Take it.
You'd ask for time away on your own, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So you're going away for the weekend.
I made the mistake one year of going to the florist's at about 6:30, so I was on the way home from work, and the queue out the door of men was unbelievable. I mean, I waited for about 45 minutes and then paid 70, 80 euros for a bunch of roses and decided I'm not doing this again.
Yes.
So I quickly learned it is too expensive.
Yeah. That's silly, isn't it?
But thanks for reminding me it's next week. I probably should get something planned as soon as we leave.
We always do a card and a present. I was saying to the ladies last week that it's a kind of good excuse and a good reason to get a present. We both have summer birthdays, so they're kind of halfway between Christmas. We have a birthday, his in July, mine in August. So February is a nice little excuse to get a little cheeky present in there. Which doesn't have to be, in fact, normally isn't Valentine's themed at all. I bought him a meat cleaver a couple of years ago. Because it's something that he wanted. Most of my presents for him are kitchen themed in some way because he enjoys cooking.
So I enjoy eating.
And I enjoy eating, yes. Perfect partnership. Okay, Valentine's Day, on to biscuits. Britons are the world's biggest biscuit eaters, scoffing an average of 3 a day. I thought I'd ask you how if you can be honest about your biscuit intake. Are you the kind of person that opens a packet of biscuits and has to finish the whole thing? Would you happily take a biscuit, enjoy your biscuit and put the rest away? How disciplined can you be with biscuits, or you're not a biscuit eater at all?
I am of the open the pack, finish the pack variety.
Yeah.
And the problem is, I love dunking them.
Yeah.
And almost whatever biscuit it is better in tea. And so suddenly I'm making cup of tea after cup of tea after cup of tea.
In order to enjoy the biscuits.
It's 1 o'clock in the morning and I'm still sitting there. But there is kind of a race in the house. Mm-hmm. My wife is a huge biscuit fan. My daughter is an even bigger biscuit fan, and now she's worked out that if she gets on her stool, she can climb up, open the cupboard, and take them out herself.
Okay.
Often find.
Is that your wife? Or?
No. She doesn't need the straw. So yeah, often there's disappointment in my biscuit tin.
Right. Yeah, I think that they're safer not to buy.
Yeah, I'm with you.
In fact, when you get biscuits that come in packets that have 2 in a packet, so you buy a packet of packets, and then that's much easier. So then you can automatically have a packet of 2 biscuits each. And know that that's your limit. That's much safer, I feel, than having a large packet. Should we have another one? Oh, should we have another one? So if your packet contains 2 biscuits, then it's far simpler, I feel.
I'm at the opposite end of the spectrum. I virtually never buy biscuits, and if I do, the pack will last about 6 months.
Really?
Yeah, seriously.
So you're not a massive fan at all?
No, well, I stopped taking sugar about 3 years ago. And
Wow.
I'd just gone off everything sweet.
That's amazing.
Except the occasional double chocolate cookie. Now and again.
So when you go for it, you go for it.
Yeah, but that's about it.
Okay. Wow, so you don't have much sugar at all then?
Oh, zero. Pretty much zero. I can't eat dessert.
Okay. Gosh.
So, no. It
How
just went
interesting.
off it completely.
What about all the hidden sugars, or are you just talking about sweet things particularly?
What, you mean beer?
Yeah, I guess. I wasn't even
I
thinking
love
that,
my beer.
but- Okay,
I
yeah.
do love my beer.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
But I think that's about it. But I don't like processed foods anyway.
No.
So like you guys, I prefer to make all my stuff from scratch.
Yeah.
So sugar doesn't really have a place in my house.
Well done, that's good. And you don't miss it? It's just
Oh,
become
God, no.
routine? Yeah?
No.
Did you used to have a sweet tooth? Was it quite a big
I did
change,
have as a
or-
kid. Oh
Okay.
my God, I could work my way through a sweet counter, no problem.
Okay.
And chocolatey eclairs and things like that. But I lost a lot of that in my teens, and then when I stopped taking sugar in tea and coffee, that took me about 2 weeks to get used to, and then I couldn't go back to it. You really do see it's poison.
It's addicting, isn't it? You know, once you stop, you sort of think, I don't really need this at all in my life. But when you start again, well, same thing with the biscuits. Open one, eat the pack. So,
we stopped taking sugar in our tea and coffee. I'm not sure how many months ago, but less than 6 months ago, I think, but just went cold turkey. I mean, all we were having was half a spoonful of sugar. It wasn't like we've gone from 2 to nothing, but we just decided to cut it out completely and don't even think about it at all. Just went, okay, no more sugar for us, and we don't have it at all.
Do you still have milk in your coffee, though?
Yes, we have oat milk at home. Found a really nice oat milk, but then when I go out and they don't have oat milk, I'll have normal milk because I'm not vegan or anything. But just try experimenting with little different changes. That's what I'm doing.
Well, I weaned myself off sugar quite a while ago. And
Yeah?
I don't miss sugar in tea because I used to put 2.5 in a coffee.
Wow.
But I find the milk sweet. So I'm thinking of going to black coffee, to be honest.
Interesting.
So I don't know if I could handle the bitterness first thing in the morning, but I think the sweetness of the milk is as addictive as sugar.
Oh, I totally agree. I totally agree. I went completely Americano. So, you know, that's it. Straight. I just can't take milky coffee.
I could do it at home, but when you go out, unless you know where you're going specifically for your coffee and you know how they make, sometimes it can be quite bitter.
Yeah.
And every so often, to be honest, I can't remember the last time I did it, but every so often, if I'm out and it's a coffee and with milk and it's really bitter, I might have to add the tiniest bit of sugar. But I haven't done that for a long time now. But because
when it's that bitter, you wonder how often they're cleaning the coffee machine, though. You think, is this the flavour of the beans, or has this been years of residue that's built up?
That's
a horrible thought. Just leave you with that. Those sort of backstreet Spanish cafeterias.
you never know, do you?
Yeah, you've got to have the grit in a Spanish coffee. When it goes down, you need that layer of grit. And you know you're getting your money's worth. But biscuits, I'm very impressed. We've still got Christmas biscuits in the cupboard, to be honest.
Really?
We're both trying to be careful. But she will buy club biscuits and they disappear very quickly because she buys a packet and they just go. And then I get in trouble because she says you've eaten all the clubs. I said, well, if you hadn't bought them, I wouldn't have eaten them.
Yeah. It's true, though. What you have, if it's there in the house, well, not always, because you've done very well with the Christmas biscuits, but in general, if it's things like that we've just only in the last few weeks, I think, got through all the various Christmassy chocolate things that have just lasted for ages.
Well, that's it. We're just finishing, I think. But we had people around yesterday for a business conversation at home, and she put out biscuits, and they were English people, and they ate a lot. So, I had half a blue ribbon.
I did a Gibraltar run, but early December, I think, to load up on sort of pre-Christmas stuff, and I did the big box of Quality Streets, and then had to go back about midway through December because I realised we needed them.
Yeah, that's the danger of getting all that stuff early. Yeah, I've done that before, definitely. We better take a break.
Hannah Murray on TRE in the afternoon.
Good afternoon. You're listening to Men Talk with me in the studio today, Luke Watkins, Russell Hood and Jamie Stonehewer. We've had a message from Cookie who says if you don't have it in the house in the first place, you won't eat it. That's very true. Very true. There's an article I've noticed this week, more than a few people are going a bit bonkers over a new film called Miller's Girl. I haven't seen it yet. It's got Martin Freeman, 52-year-old English actor, and 21-year-old Jenna Ortega in it. And there's quite an explicit sex scene between the two characters in the film. And people are going a bit mad about it, saying it's quite the age gap, 21 and 52, and it's inappropriate and all that kind of stuff. Other people have gone, they're acting, it's a film, they're playing characters. And yeah, it just sort of got me thinking about how many films we watch have all kinds of inappropriate behaviour in them because they're films and a lot of them are fictional stories being told. And yeah, I'm just wondering slightly what all the fuss is about. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I'm in the latter camp. I think it's a film you go to watch it because you want to be entertained by that type of entertainment. I like stupid action movies, but then I like the odd art house thing. So if you don't like it, turn it off.
Yeah, don't watch it if it's not your
Basically.
thing. Exactly. Appreciate that it's a film, it's fiction, and if you look at the subject matter and if you think, I'd enjoy that, then you go and watch it. If it's not something you'd enjoy, you don't watch it.
I think it's slightly unfair to talk about Martin Freeman like this because he's always looked 52. So it's hard. If it was someone else, then you're like, that's
a good point.
It's kind of forever. Exactly. Even in The Office when he was in his early 20s, something like that. So I think it's not quite right.
That's a good point.
And also, as we said before, when we were talking about it, we do live in Marbella, so this is very commonplace for us. It's not the right place to make this kind of judgment call. It's the octogenarians with their 20-year-olds that we see so often. 52 is very passable.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally.
Who are we to judge?
Well, 52 is not old, is it?
Quite. No, it's not.
I don't feel 52 is old.
No, absolutely not.
I've left it behind, but I still don't feel
I'm entirely with you, Jamie. I'm entirely with you.
Yeah, nothing wrong with an age gap, okay? Toyah Willcox, so not talking about Toyah Willcox in general, but there was a woman who wrote an article saying that she met Toyah Willcox at a lunch party and had a great chat with her, and they were talking about music and wondering, and I love this, I think about this a lot, wondering how many successful musical artists of today will still be successful and gigging kind of 40 years down the line, like Toyah Willcox still is. And I think it's an interesting one. I think it's really difficult to kind of decide which artists will stand the test of time and why, which artists are doing something different, so different enough that, Harry Styles is a prime example, or even Taylor Swift. In the article, she says, Taylor Swift, I'm sure, will still be around. And I'm thinking, even though the likes of Harry Styles and Taylor Swift, even Adele possibly, have had major global success, are they doing anything that different that people will still love them in 40, 50 years? I don't know.
Did people say that about Cher? And she's still going.
Good point.
Well. Deborah Harry's still going. She shouldn't be going, in my personal opinion. I saw her at several different festivals over the summer, and she obviously needs the money because her voice is gone.
Really?
The band look like they need wheelchairs. So Toyah would be interesting, I'd imagine, to see, because she was very arty. I met Toyah when I was very young. She came to a party and was at a house, her cousin, and she walked in and we were all like, Toya Wilcox, and it was time the pokes and things, and she had the eye makeup on and the spiky hair, but she was very arty, so I don't know, I can't imagine I've heard anything about Toya Wilcox till I read that article before the show, so it'd be interesting to see what she's doing and how she sounds, really.
Yeah.
But look at some of the old Americans who they rolled out for the awards last week. They rolled out really older ladies, and they were singing beautifully.
Yeah.
In America. So I think, the problem is the new guy who's doing the Eurovision song for England, he's now cannot promote his song because his record company have banned him from using TikTok.
Really?
Yeah. And
why?
Because they've fallen out with them because they don't get any commercial interest from TikTok.
Oh, God.
So Universal Records said, no, you can't promote your record on TikTok.
No.
And it's like, how do I promote myself? Everyone promotes themselves on TikTok and I can't.
Wow.
So they're quite worried about that for Eurovision. We were talking about this
I think it's going to be interesting what happens with that, because I love Ollie Alexander and I love his group and everything. I've got loads of their songs on my playlist. I've seen the clip of his Eurovision song. Didn't really kind of do much, I thought, and it made me think about how many artists have done Eurovision and it hasn't been that great for them.
I think there's an awful lot of people who are just of their time, and I think, as you said, Harry Styles, Taylor Swift is very much of this time given the demographic that they appeal to. But then you've got the singers who become iconic. Adele's achieved that, George Michael achieved it, and these are the people, well, obviously not George because he's not around to sing, but Adele will probably still be singing well into her dotage. Can't see Taylor Swift doing it. It's unless she morphs into a sort of Celine Dion type, but Celine's still doing it. Even Streisand comes out occasionally, but they're icons and their music will stay around. But I think the popular music, and I was listening to a lot of the pop the other day, and you think, everybody's got a certain sound at the moment. There seems to be a certain run of drums that appear in just about every single track. So it will move on from there as fashion does. Yeah. But the icons will rise above it.
But I think that's also because there's a very small amount of people actually producing popular music. They say, it all comes out of one stable in the US. There's maybe 6 or 7 main guys that do it. And so everything does end up sounding kind of the same. Yeah. But it's interesting the way current media sort of shifts those trends. And remember last year, was it the year before, the Kate Bush song became really big, and because it was in Stranger Things, everyone fell in love with that. And at the moment, there's that Sophie Ellis Bextor song, which is in Saltburn, which is 20-something years old. So, like the TikTok thing, whatever's current and popularising those kind of classic songs does seem to be giving it some mileage.
Definitely.
But you went to the 90s festival, didn't you, last year?
Oh, it was so good, and I can't wait for the next one this year.
That's 30-year-old stuff.
Yeah.
I think the people that liked it then, we grew up. If you grew up with Toya, you're still going to like Toya now. You're going to still want to see her. It's so I think that if you have a connection to an artist and they are still going and they're 65, you probably would go and see them.
Yeah, absolutely. I find the whole iconic thing really interesting, though. Who decides who's iconic and what makes someone iconic? Cher, I suppose, will be deemed to be iconic as well. There's so many artists that could have that label, but I guess you'd have people that weren't fans of that particular person that will go, oh, God, no, they're not, just because they don't like them. I wonder if it's easier to think of someone as an icon if you're a fan. You know what I mean?
I think there's a lot of kids that discover Led Zeppelin when they get into that kind of period of their life where they're getting into heavy rock or just rock music generally, and they're attaching themselves to the early stuff that they're being introduced to by their parents, and I've heard this a lot. And the Stones' early stuff, and I saw the Stones years ago in Athens, and I thought they were dreadful. But the people are just fanatical about them, and they do seem to keep drawing in more fans. So that has to make them iconic, doesn't it?
Yeah. When generation after generation are the Beatles. I mean, I'm a massive Beatles fan. So much, I'm really excited about this. So much so, my dad and I have booked a weekend in Liverpool in June, I think, and we're staying in an Airbnb opposite the Cavern Club, and we're doing a whole Beatles weekend. Really excited, and that came from me growing up with my parents listening to to the Beatles. Obviously, I wasn't around at the time, so yeah, generation after generation. Yeah, I think that's good.
And tastes change as you get older as well. I remember when I was a teenager and Take That were a big thing. I had absolutely no interest in listening to Take That. You know, I was a teenage boy in London. It wasn't cool for me to do that. And now they're playing in Marbella, and my wife wanted to go and see. I was like, I'm really excited to go and see Take That. You know, because I know all the songs. They were so played on radio. They were just so present in your life that they're just in my brain. So I think I'm going to go and sing with this. So, but if you told 16-year-old me, you know, you've got tickets to
absolutely.
Can I take a Walkman so I don't have to listen to any of it?
I was exactly the same with ABBA. I missed it all when they were on the rise. And now I absolutely love them. So, because there's so many great songs there.
Exactly. I guess also maybe as you get older you worry less about being cool and stuff, and you can think, yeah, I suppose that their music, I'm not talking about Take That or ABBA here, but you know, you might look back at bands like that and think, oh yeah, I suppose it was a bit cheesy, but what great music, you know, and you don't really care. You can just appreciate that they're good songs to sing along to or whatever. Right, we better take another break.
Hannah Murray, TRE in the afternoon.
Good afternoon. You're listening to Men Talk with Luke Watkins, Russell Hood and Jamie Stonecure. There's an article that has the headline, Money Can't Buy Happiness, We're Better Off Being Poor. They say the best things in life are free, and there may be some truth in that. Many Indigenous people live satisfying lives despite having little money. Low-income societies were found to have high levels of life satisfaction comparable to those in wealthy areas. This is interesting. I always find that fascinating, actually, when you're watching documentaries and you see these kids and families living in slums with absolutely nothing, and the kids are kicking around a can or a bit of wood and they've got these huge smiles on their faces, and you just think, wow, amazing, you know, and we're so much more focused on material things and wanting to buy the best things, and often not as happy, perhaps.
Yeah, but you see those documentaries and the kids are still wearing like football shirts with the full range from Man United, Liverpool, latest shirts, and I always think, well, how do they buy those? And they can't
I'm sure they're fake. I'm sure they're fake.
They seem to have that news show on BBC Two on a Sunday night, Wilderness, with Simon Reed. You know, he's in the middle of like the Amazon jungle, and they're all wearing the latest football tops. And I'm like, well, who's sending them in? Did they take them with them? I don't know. Are they paid by the football team? They've got nothing else, but they're wearing the latest football tops. Yeah, I think a simpler life is you're going to spend less money, and money's not that important. You know, if you live in the middle of nowhere and you've got just about enough running water and maybe a windmill, you're not really going to think about buying a nice car and buying nice clothes or anything else.
Well, this is the thing. This is the interesting thing. I think it makes a difference where you live and the kind of environment that you're sort of used to. It would be easier to live a simpler life if you were living in a totally different place, but if you're kind of caught up in going to work, earning money, going out with your friends, all this kind of life that you're used to, it would be quite difficult to cut all that back and go, okay, I'm going to be happy with less than half this money, I'm not going to buy any clothes, I'm not going to go out with my friends, I'm not going to do that, and just stop spending money. That, if you're staying in the same situation, that would be quite difficult, wouldn't it, I think?
Oh, totally. But also, we live in a society where from the moment we're born, we're bombarded with aspirational images, you know, the whole power of advertising and marketing. And to acquire things, to acquire wealth, to acquire property, anything is deemed as good. It's implied that that is a successful life. And that's what all the images are about. And so if you're poor in a society like that, you're pretty much feeling like, am I a failure? Why can't I get out of this rut?
Yeah.
So I think societies which don't value those things as being the sort of stuff they want to aspire to will be much happier. But we're attacked by it the whole time.
Yeah.
But those societies are really indigenous these days, aren't they? Because it's just a global world and global communications. It's hard to imagine anyone isn't aware, you know, of brands and, you know, aspirational stuff like Mercedes, Coca-Cola's, Rolex and all that sort of thing, you know? And I think that ultimately is the problem, because does it make a difference? Does it really bring happiness? Probably not at a certain level. I think there's a there's obviously a level of convenience that money brings, you know,
and choice.
And accessibility, exactly. You know, the fact that you can go and see Take That, I can go and see Take That, you know, and it's not a cheap thing to do. The fact that you can go and have lunch on the beach is fantastic. But equally, you can pick a picnic and go and sit on the beach and have a fantastic day, you know. So I think we live in a strange place as well, where, you know, there is an incredible amount of wealth around us. And sometimes it feels aspirational, sometimes it feels kind of sickening. Oh, this is crazy. So I think genuinely, if you could strip back all the commercial rubbish, people probably would be happier, because it does create levels of anxiety, of competition that don't really need to be there.
It's difficult to do in the society that we live in, though, isn't it? It really is. You know, if you're going to work and you're thinking, "Oh, it'd be nice to have a holiday," and then if you can afford to go on holiday, step one, then it's like, "Oh, I want to get some new clothes for my holiday or whatever." And then when you're on holiday, you want to be able to go to the nice restaurants and the museums and whatever, and all these things cost money. So to pull back from all of those and say, "Okay, I'm not bothered about going on a holiday. I'm not bothered about buying new clothes. I'm not," is quite difficult. Still living within this environment, I think, unless you take yourself away from it all, which isn't necessarily as easy.
Absolutely.
As we like.
When I was living in London in the 80s and 90s, the number of dinner parties where the conversation would get around to the value of property, who was driving what car, you know, who'd been promoted, and it was a constant circular conversation that went on every time. And you just realise this is really quite vacuous. You know, we're not talking about anything of substance here. And moving away from the UK, that was one of the things that really pleased me. I haven't had that kind of conversation with everybody since.
Yeah, it's true, actually, isn't it? It's really nice when you get together with friends. If you're socialising with people who you really want to be with and you're on the same wavelength, then you're not talking about stuff like that at all. It's great.
Well, I'll scare you with this then. I was talking to a friend of mine last week who's got an 8 or 9-year-old daughter, and she goes to one of the private schools here, and they live on San Pedro Beach in a nice apartment. They kind of live that life you were just talking about. So, you know, they're not super rich by any means, but they go out for nice dinners whenever they want. They go on holiday fairly regularly, you know, so they live a good quality of life. And she said to him a couple of weeks ago, "Daddy, why are we so poor?" You know, so the experience she's having through friends at school, you know, in Range Rovers and chauffeur-driven whatevers, means that she feels she's really... And he grew up, I don't know where it was, in, you know, working class background, so he really had experienced levels of poverty that she never had, you know, and he's kind of, I didn't know how to answer that. I was sort of angry and overwhelmed. I just didn't know how to do it. So it may not be happening at our level, but it's happening at schools, so we're coming back anyway.
I mean, that's the thing. There'll always be people richer than you, and there'll always be people poorer than you. And, you know, to live your life thinking, "Oh, I'll be happier if I had that," and always equating stuff to happiness is a dangerous route to go down, because, you know, you look at people with loads more money than you and think, "Oh, you know, they're so lucky, they've got 4 cars, a boat, a private plane or whatever," but they'll still probably be thinking, "Oh, if we had 2 private planes, then we could do this and this and that." You know, you could always have more. No matter how much you've got, you could always have more. So it's understanding and hopefully appreciating what you do have and creating happiness within that.
But it shows that your friend's daughter, you know, it's a prime example of kids absorbing that information at a very young age, and that of course starts to colour how they're going to go through life. So, you know, it's getting ingrained at such an early stage. That's really worrying.
Yeah, it's true, actually. I'm just trying to think back when I was a kid and was just completely oblivious to money, you know, how much things cost, who had what, and designer thing. Like, I just didn't have a clue because I wasn't in that environment. But you do see it more now, kids talking about those brands that you mentioned, and obviously hearing their parents talk about it, and, you know, mum buying a nice handbag, dad getting a nice car, whatever the stereotypes might be. They're around that, so they think, "Oh, when I'm older, I'm going to have a nice handbag, I'm going to get a nice car." You know, they kind of associate it as being normal, I suppose.
Or in their case, I think, why don't we have a nicer car?
Right,
which is awful.
I mean, we are, I don't know, some silly percentage, 30 or 20%, and we're the lucky ones. We can read and write, we can sleep, we've all got running water in our house, we've got drinking water in our house. We're already lucky.
Yeah.
And then society and everything around us, advertising and everything, wants us to try and get more and more and more. I mean, you say, right, we live in a strange place. I mean, people are driving cars that cost more than my house.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, I'll never have that much disposable income to buy a car. And if I did, I wouldn't want to drive around here. And
You should see the dignity of my car. I reckon what a Lamborghini.
Traffic jams, they get stolen from outside your house for you. But I mean, it's like, I mean, and I always think, if I win the lottery, I'm not going to buy a car, I'm not going to buy a private plane, I'm not going to buy all that stuff, and none of that's important. I'd retire tomorrow, I'd travel more, but I wouldn't want all that sort of material stuff.
What would you do? Travel?
Just travel more than we do now, and maybe travel more, maybe turn left instead of right on an aeroplane a bit more. But I would never want, my dream car when I grew up was a Range Rover. I wouldn't buy a Range Rover now looking at the people in Marbella driving. I'd just be... Sorry, Court, I don't know. Is that snobby? Is it because I've grown up? I don't know. I came from a very nice village, and my parents they both worked, went to studied, and they both worked hard. And they instilled in me, just be grateful for what you've got. But they also instilled, go out, get a job, and you've got to work. So that was one of their gifts to me, and Bev's the same. So I don't... all this material stuff around us, jewellery. I mean, a watch, people are paying like 35,000, 40,000 euros for a watch. My watch tells the time exactly the same.
It's true.
They're very attractive, but I don't want to then be wandering around holding my wrist looking at me all day either. So,
absolutely.
I'll just give me a waterproof watch, I'm very happy. My watch does all sorts of things, but it's still, it wouldn't be, I don't even want an Apple Watch, because I've broken two. I'm not going to... But it's where do you stop?
Oh, exactly. And people don't.
Well, my first phone was €100. The phones now are €1,000. It does the same as the first one, really. A bit more of internet on it. So I mean, it's and the kids want the best phone, and they want the best this, and they want, and it's I think the people, probably going back to the article, are happier with less, but they're always going to want more.
Yeah.
And wherever they are, they're going to see more. They're going to see... Coca-Cola go and give stuff to people in Africa. Why? Because it looks good and they know their brand. They're still branding to people that can't even afford to buy a Coca-Cola. They'll sponsor the hospital. A lot of that goes on in Africa today. When my brother and sister-in-law, they go out and take classes to like the indigenous people in South Africa, and the people that their eyesight's gone, they can't sew in the dark anymore, and they give them second-hand glasses. But they're sponsored by big petroleum businesses. So they buy their petrol. So it's every level. Even charities are sponsored by big companies to pass on the message. It's all materialism.
It's a shame, real shame. We'll take another break, our last one.
Hannah Murray, TRE in the afternoon.
Good afternoon. You're listening to the final part of Men Talk. With me in the studio today, Luke Watkins, Russell Hood and Jamie Stonehewer. Sticking on the subject of money. This is a tricky one. It's an interesting subject. The headline reads, "The 10 money mistakes we wish we'd never made." And then it's various celebrities or entrepreneurs who are kind of looking back on their life and saying, money-wise, I wish I didn't do that, or I wish I did more of that. So it's making kind of wrong investments or bad decisions, or trusting the wrong person, or not saving enough, or maybe saving too much, or whatever. So I thought that was an interesting one. If you could go back, would there be something that you would do differently in terms of money?
I would have saved more.
Yeah? You would have saved more.
I was a complete spendthrift.
Yeah.
Because I was earning incredibly good money in London, so I thought it would never stop. And then one day you realise it can stop.
Yes. Oh, yeah, that's a good one. I can relate.
I'm with you there.
We can all relate to that. Not to the earning obscene amounts of money, to be fair, but definitely saving more.
Well, it wasn't obscene. It wasn't obscene.
It was
good.
Good money. Good money. Yeah.
I had a flat in London, which I bought before I moved here. So this is 20 plus years ago, and sold it and a friend of mine went to look at it with a view to buying a flat in the same development, and had a conversation with me about how much it's worth, how much it rents for now. And I did the quick maths. I was like, so you're telling me I would have paid the mortgage off now and have £6,000 a month coming in had I not sold that, and what little profit I did make on it all went in bars and other things that, you know, I have no memory of whatsoever. So I try not to think about that, so thanks for reminding me.
Sorry.
And don't ever look at Zoopla. No. I did that and I nearly cried.
Oh no.
Yes.
This is what you could have won. It's one of those.
Absolutely.
Oh yes, heartbreaking.
But hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it?
Yes.
Is that the same article that says about following friends' advice?
Yes,
Yeah.
there was one in there. Someone who took a friend's advice on investments, and it wasn't good advice basically.
Do any of the panel have Bitcoin? Have you got Bitcoin? No. Have you got Bitcoin?
Again, another good story, another bad thing I did there. I remember when it was coming up, in the first place, and it was $50 a coin, something like that. And I kept thinking, I've heard about this thing. I've got to go home and buy some one day. And didn't do it in my complacency, and then sat there and watched it go up to 20,000. And I thought, I bought that at $50 a coin. I'd be quid in now. So no.
But all those people that said to me, "You got to go into Bitcoin. You got to go into Bitcoin." None of them are telling me that now.
No,
because they all lost money. So I mean, it's like no. But I've just had years ago, my father took me to a guy in. He's not here anymore, so I can advertise him on the radio. But he's called the Pension Investment Shop, and he was in Central Plaza. And it was a bit of a fly-by-night. I used to drink with him as well, and go out for dinner with him occasionally. And he was quite a nice guy. And he sold me this little tiny pension, and he sold us life insurance. And my father said, just take a small amount. You can always increase it. So it's been £50 a month for years, but you don't really notice £50 going into a pot somewhere. Well, it pays out next week, but the Spanish government can take 30%. So it's like, well, so I'm now thinking all these pensions that they told me to take out, am I better just cashing them in and enjoying the money now? Because if they're going to take 30% on them, I mean, there's no point. That's not big money, it's only little money and little bits, but you got a tax rebate in Spain if you had pensions. And then the Spanish said, no, you can't have so much in.
Oh, it's
so they've stopped you having so much. And now I'm thinking, do I contact these people and say, well, are you going to have 30%? Are they going to have 30% in Spain as well? Or is it just because it's coming from England? So it's like, it's just kicking the balls. Why did I bother saving it? But Bev says, it's a waste of money. I said, but we would have spent the 50 quid on something anyway, so at least we're going to
it's better than nothing. It's still annoying.
Holiday.
Absolutely.
But it's of course I wish I'd had loads of properties in London and was renting them out, and we're dealing with all the hassle as well. Think of that, Luke.
True.
When you're on the beach having a picnic in the sunshine.
I've let it go. I am at peace with my decision.
We have to be. We are where we are.
There's one here which I think is I think it's easier for him to say because he's one of the richest men in the UK, John Caldwell, the Phones for You group and various other things, the founder of Phones for You. He said that one of his regrets is being too kind and generous, and I kind of think, that's a shame. It's nice to be kind and generous, surely, however much money you have. I've always sort of liked to be generous even when not having much money. But I suppose if you have a lot of money, it might be, if you're that way inclined, easy to be too kind and generous, whatever that means, and constantly, I'll get this, and then suddenly thinking, have I spent my whole life saying, I'll get this, and maybe that was unnecessary, maybe that was too frivolous, I don't know. Having not been in that situation, it's
I'll let you know if I ever get there. I'll tell you how it feels.
Mr. Caldwell's friends have got to step up to the plate to be nice to him.
Exactly.
I think that's the problem, is it creates sycophants. So are they really friends? Or if you know that, hey, this guy's always buying a meal, this guy's always going to buy the drinks, you'll be hanging around with him just for the freebies. So it's hard to know what he means in that context. But,
it would be that would be a horrible thing if you if it's people you've always been friends with, then you'd hope that doesn't change. But if you suddenly acquire more friends when you've acquired more money, then you'd always be thinking, are they real friends? It must be horrible to be second guessing that all the time.
A friend of mine sold out the company a few years ago for quite a lot of money. and said it was amazing. The amount of people that they hadn't heard from in years was suddenly ringing them up. Congratulations, guys I went to school with. I've been friends with them, congratulations, it'd be great to get together. It's been so long. And said, I didn't like you when I knew you, Just incredible.
Wow.
People just came out of the woodwork as soon as they said, he's got some cash now. Worth tapping up.
But one of the things I loved, there was a story. Do you remember the singer Gabrielle? After she had a massive success, she still lived, I think it was around about Streatham, and her best friend was still a best friend who worked at Woolworths, and they were always hanging out together. So she didn't go down that route and surround herself with all the sycophants. And I thought that was such a lovely story.
Definitely. And as it should be. Yeah. I mean, how awful for her friend would it have been if she was like, I'm going to hang out with some celebs now and dumped her friends just because she got more money. Oh, I love that. Moving on from money to happiness, or maybe they're connected. So this one is all about kind of making, the headline reads 10 quirky shortcuts to happiness as revealed in a book that says improving well-being is easier than you think. So there's various things here that sort of made me smile that I could relate to, I guess. One of which was learn how to say no.
Yes.
Has anyone had experience of this?
Oh, yes.
Yes? Go on then.
It took a while, but I think I started doing it in my 40s.
Okay.
And now it's very easy to say no. I don't want to do that. I don't want to go there. I don't fancy that to eat. I don't want to spend time with that person. Yeah.
And how honest are you? How much of that do you say to the person who's invited you to
Probably,
whatever?
Sorry, I can't make it, or I can't do it. But I'm not going to give them a blunt no. I mean, that might be a little bit harsh. Yes.
Still polite, sorry, can't make it. And you're happy to do that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, love that.
Because the other side of that is, it's because in that article I think it also is about making time for yourself. And I'm very jealous of my personal time, whether it's I want to read a book without being interrupted, or watch a good film, or I'm going to binge a series or something, or just go for a walk. But I like my own company. An awful lot of people don't.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't like my company as well.
Oh, that's good. Any issues with saying no?
I used to say yes to absolutely everything.
Really?
With no intention of going.
So you just say it.
So I say yes because I didn't want to say no. And then I just wouldn't go.
Right.
And so I realised I've kind of created this mould for myself where I'm just known as the flaky guy. It's like, he says yes and then I never show up.
Right.
I thought, this is crazy. If I don't learn to take control of this and just say to people, look, I'm not going to come. Or even, I don't think I'm going to come. I don't expect. I might show up.
Little steps, baby steps.
Exactly. So it really was a skill I had to learn. And it was important because I thought, I don't want to be this guy that people think of as never. He says he's going to do it and never does it. I'd rather just be honest and say I don't particularly want to do it.
Yeah. So you do that now.
I'm better at it. I probably do still say yes to a few too many things. But I'm more conscious. If I say yes, I try and make an effort to go these days. Even if it's just for 10 minutes. Okay, I've said it, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
But it's strange again, being a father has changed that shit. I kind of feel like I'm a role model, so I need to be more, I need to show her, not that she's paying any attention to what I'm doing half the time, but, it's kind of like just as a way of life.
Yeah.
Say, listen, you need to be responsible for your actions, and if you say you're going to do something, it's important to do it. Or be clear that you're not going to do it. So I'm learning, through her.
Good. Jamie, ever had an issue with saying no?
No, but my wife always says yes, so we end up going wherever we're going to go. I would be the guy sat at home. I wouldn't be sat here. I'd be sat at home. You asked me to do this a couple of weeks ago. I was like,
Nice to know you were so inspired. Jamie. You're excited to get my text.
But my first answer in my brain is always no. And then I think, it'll be fun, I'll go, And so, my first answer is always no. And that's maybe just the way I'm wired up. But I'm
so when you say yes, do you depending on what it is often, but do you then kind of think, I'm glad I said yes to that?
Nearly 90% of the time, I'd say.
Oh, good.
So, I would be quite happily sat at home reading a book or having a bit of me time a lot of the time.
Yeah. So maybe you need to say yes more. We can reverse this one for you.
Yeah, but it's a balance. That's the problem. So, yes, I can say no quite easily.
Okay.
And mean no, and no means no. But it usually gets changed by bed.
What about
happy wife, happy life?
yeah. What about taking a break from the old routine, doing something new, doing something different? Doesn't have to be an extreme sport or whatever. It doesn't have to be anything outrageous. But just if you're used to, getting up the same time, having the same thing for breakfast, walking the dog at the same time, possibly the same thing for lunch, going to the gym the same time, whatever your routine may be. Are you good at kind of mixing it up a bit?
I'm not terribly good at it because I'm not fortunate enough to be retired. So you have that routine as you do, where you have your work routine. So that's part of your life structure. But I mean, I love it if something comes up that is completely out of my comfort zone, and I think, that appeals. I think I will have a go at that.
Yeah.
And of course, I can't think of a single thing now. But it is nice when you get to have new experiences and to be open to them. So I think that's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's part of life's rich tapestry, isn't it?
Indeed.
And at the end of the year, when you look at it, because you can do it whenever, but it's a good time at the end of the year, going into a new year, kind of looking back in your year and thinking, what did I do this year? And it's the new things that you've done that kind of stick out. Yeah. You don't necessarily go, I did well at the gym this year or whatever. You'll go, when we had that weekend in such and such, that was fabulous. Yeah. Or when we did this with the kids or whatever it might be. You pick out the new things that you did a lot of the time, and they're the memories that stick with you.
I quite like chaos. I think part of and again, part of that strange mould of me where I said yes to things and then didn't show up was convincing myself it's all part of the chaos, So I like that disorder, doing different things and even simple stuff, like you say, going to the gym at different times. There's a lot of talk lately about your route to work. Seems to be coming up a lot. Change your route to work changes your perspective on the day.
I'll end up in Bethel Manor.
Exactly. I don't know how many different ways we're supposed to get here, but
there's only one route into gym.
Yes, exactly. Sorry, I'm late for work today. I was changing my route. I'm not quite sure where I am. I see what you mean, though. Yes.
But I think it's fun to do that. It's different experiences, and they do stick out.
Yeah. And life could so easily, I'm talking general here, life could so easily get monotonous if you're doing the same thing, and who wants that in their life? Same old. You want to feel like you're doing something different, and life is exciting and interesting, and
even if it's just meeting new people, and finding that you've actually, we've got something in common. That's great, I've got a terrible habit of collecting people, which is great because I've met so many amazing people, and so always being open to new people and not just saying, I've got my little circle, I'm going to stay safely within that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Okay, we have under 2 minutes left. I'm going to end with this very quickly, and you've got to summarise ridiculously quickly. 1 in 4 men think women have it easier. Discuss.
I don't believe that.
No, it's the fourth one of us who's not here then.
The guy who's missing.
Yeah.
I think that's total nonsense.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, a complete
good answer.
Rubbish.
Yeah, I can't believe people. I mean, not being funny. I can't believe people would think that. I kind of don't get that.
Well, not nowadays, but I mean, how can a woman who's raising a child, cleaning house, working, cooking and cleaning, not that I'm saying that's what women should do, how can they possibly have it easier? Which is probably a bigger percentage are still doing that and working than there aren't.
Also, what women's bodies have to go through.
Yeah.
That more periods. End of discussion.
Well, goodbye. I've been fun on this.
Not wishing to make anyone feel uncomfortable. Yes. Well done. Good answer, all of you. And have a good weekend. Thank you all very much for coming in today. I know it's only Thursday, but I'm not in tomorrow. So have a good weekend all. Howard Brereton is coming up after the news with Spain Today, and I will be back on Monday at 4:00. There is the book show tonight from 7, so don't miss that. 7 till 9, repeated on Saturday at 8 p.m. And what else can I tell you about? Weather's not great today. It's a bit cloudy outside. It's supposed to rain tomorrow, isn't it? Yes, it is. It's supposed to rain tomorrow, so brace yourselves. But we need it. That's what we keep saying. We need it. We need it. So hopefully it's going to rain tomorrow, and hopefully you don't have any beach plans. It'll all be good. Have a good one, and I'll see you Monday.
You've been listening to a TRE production. If you've enjoyed this programme, there'll be another episode waiting for you next week, right here on this platform, where you can also access our extensive back catalogue of shows and interviews. For more information on our live programming, social media channels and apps, and how to contact Talk Radio Europe, please visit tre.radio.